Wasn't it today? The 9th of October, there's some big things.
Happy Moon Day, the 5th of October, Scribes. I have a little introduction for you, if I may. Here we go. I'm going to play this first.
Now,
Ready?
I want to hear this one. This is a special mix to the Slamming Vinyl crew by Everson and the Master Mark from the Rat Pack crew. Alongside the one like Kenny Ken. This is the baddest old school mix you will ever hear again. Now I want you to listen this. Now you have some tune make you laugh, but when you hear this one, this special is very serious. So I want to all who can dance, shut up and leave.
Oh, thank you. There we go. That was Lip Master and Kenny Ken launching Slamming Vinyl, absolute old school classics. When I was knee-high to a grasshopper in 1991, and that was given to me many moons ago, not on a moon day, by a brother, we'll say Andrew, aka Shrooney, one of my long-time bread bins from back in the day that helped me get on the straight and narrow. I strayed from the path when the jungle was massive, and he put me back on it, and him and others. So I've been listening to some old school beats today whilst having my head in in various areas of which I'll update you another time. So we are on Moon Day, the 5th of October, and the title for today's presentation is Debt Collection, Goods, Orders, Warrants, Officers and Control. Brother X is on the telephone link up with me. Okay, that's not Josh X, but Brother X. He wants to remain a little bit anonymous for now, so we will do so and honour that. You want to say hello, Brother X?
Hello, family. Hope you're all well on this so-called cloudy night. Yeah, we're just going to talk about what's going on with suppose bailiffs and, I suppose that lot taking the mick while the so-called COVID crisis is going on. They'll try anything at the moment, won't they?
Yes, may I just say, are you using a hands-free? And if so, it might be scraping across something. There's some kind of funny noise, my brother, just while we're at the beginning. Yeah,
okay.
You got a dangly wire. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, I'm not bothered. I'm just saying there's a little bit of a wisp.
Okay, let me move it over here so it doesn't move around.
I want some clarity for this. This is important. It's not.
So it doesn't do that. So it's us cutting out and not them pushing that little beep 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 beep. All right, yeah, is that better?
Yeah, that's good, my man. That's good. I'm going to just see who's in the room. I will apologise. I feel my duty to do a little apology because I haven't been live and casting as much as I usually have. If you've seen the community channel updates there, or you are a supporter on the private domain, or you are on the Book of Faces, then you will have seen the reasons why we've dipped out of the public duties and obligations temporarily, whilst we look to move to the private and use the supreme laws. And I think we've got a pathway to the private. In fact, we're sure there was 5 of us in the I don't know what you'd call that there, the collective, if you want, the alliance,
start online business, selling online.
And yeah, we're working hard, so I'm glad to be back. I've missed you. I think you might have missed us. I hope so anyway. And you may have seen an update where I was dodging the Scania having a failing turbo, and this Brother X was on the line at the time. He didn't know what was going off, and he was encountering officers and agents at the door at an inconvenient time. I'm going to hand over to Brother X and let him describe to you what happened in his own words, and what the ending was, and then we might need you to offer some input. So if you listen carefully, make some notes while Brother X explains to you the scenario with police officers, constables, and can we say it? Yeah, a gas agency. We won't put the company in, but a gas agency, a well-known gas agency. What agent or client of at the property there? And I'll hand over to you, Brother X, for your rendition, recollection of that dark day.
Sure.
Thank you.
Well, the sun shone eventually, so it wasn't such a bad day. It actually turned out to be pretty good after they'd left. The sun shone even more. So obviously the universe was shining down on us, but yeah, they sort of turned up. You know, I told them, you know, what it is. Don't be afraid when they turn up. Just ask to see original documents, real documents, and with a wet ink signature is what they meant to have, so that you can verify that it's actually real. Upon not producing it, obviously you can decline, and they would then obviously call police officers and not policemen and women, because policemen and women are there to serve the public and protect, keep the peace, as they say. Is it? That's what they're meant to do.
Peacekeepers, yes, my man. So could I just ask you, how did you first know they was there? What was you doing? Was it a convenient time? Was you aware they were coming? Did they make an appointment? I'll stop.
No appointment. No, they just rock up as they want. Obviously, it wasn't a convenient time. I was meant to be somewhere. I should say, yeah, you know, picking up kids, children on their own, can't leave them on their own, and they conveniently came at the time when I had to do that, didn't care, just wanted to do whatever they wanted to do without, I suppose, following procedure as what they're meant to do. That's what everyone's meant to do, because that's what we're told. If we don't follow procedure, then other things happen. And if we've got to follow procedure, sure as hell they have to. Otherwise, how does their system stay intact? Then everyone should not follow any procedure or not follow anything that we've been told. Is that not right? I mean, I don't know. That's just from my point of view. If we've got to follow it, so do they.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Yeah, I'm with you. I am with you. We say visitors are seen strictly by appointment only, and if they're not there by appointment, then we would want to see the implied authority and jurisdiction of their, rights, enforcement rights, to come in and not trespass and not commit harm, injury, loss, trespass, theft, torts, etc. So you bang on. I can't fault you on that one. Yes.
Yeah. Well, not to mention, we're apparently in the so-called crisis, and, if the police men and women are there to protect and serve, and they're not following the rules or the law themselves by, not staying, what's the distance? I forget. Is it 1 meter, 2 meters, 1.5? It switched and swapped so many times, I don't know which one the virus likes. If it's like 2 meter or 3 meter, it's like, I don't know. Maybe it's better in sunshine. Maybe it's lower in sunshine or in the rain. Maybe, don't know. But none of them seem to be following any of that. And I don't know. Do they get levied with? Is it £10,000 fine or what? Especially if they're breaking the rules, or is it the law? I don't know which one it is these days. There's so many they keep bringing in.
It's a policy and a rule. Could you explain the first infraction and breach and trespass then towards you, which you are trying to reference there? What did they do? Could you please explain?
Under COVID? Well, under COVID, they did not stick to social distancing. They were not wearing masks. And we have testimony to that, not just by me, but by other true and real witnesses. The so-called agent didn't have one on, kept breaking the social distance rule, and was like not even, 5 centimeters away from me, not to mention then touching me. I thought he was not allowed to even touch under these so-called COVID rules. So there's like quite a few things, whatever they did, didn't seem to be following as they meant to be. And neither did the officers of what was it? Law, public law? I don't know. I don't know which they were following, but they weren't doing any protection there.
So no masks, no gloves, no visors, no distancing.
Nope.
And did they breach any boundaries of any kind? Did they make contact or?
Well, the so-called agent made contact. Yeah, he touched me. Asked him, why? Don't touch me. You know, that's, I don't know if that's assault or what, especially this time,
Aye.
because he could be spreading the virus to me, and I could be infecting my family and anyone vulnerable close to me.
Sorry, yeah, he could be spread. I like the way you put that there. We have grievous bodily harm, actual bodily harm, and various forms of assault there. Assault and battery. So to clarify, verbal assault, physical assault, and touching without consent under these rules and policies and guidelines and etc. of these confused times, then that would classify as an assault of a physical kind. All right, we're not getting to that now, but there's your first breach. Turning up without an appointment at an inconvenient time. You was going to be leaving the house to go and pick up your assets and young blood, and also to go and visit somebody which will remain anonymous at the hospital. So there was a time sensitive, very serious private issue. Yeah, you was going out to execute deeds for family in a private capacity, and you had some officers there, or police men or women. How many officers and how many agents was there? Just paint the picture.
Well, there seemed to be one agent with two stooges with him.
Okay.
And then two police officers, a male and a female.
Is that 5 in total, would you say?
5 in total, yeah.
There is a rule there then of any more than 3 on 1. I won't get it out now because I can't recall it, to be honest, but there is a rule with the police that if more than 3 mans approach one officer, they can call for backup and call it as you'll have to help me out here, scribes. I'm not a walking encyclopedia of law and paragraphs, but there is a rule there of intimidation, threatening behaviour. If you're in a cell and you're on your own, God forbid, and then they open the cell door and 3 or more officers come in or agents come in and you're on your own, you can use this back. So it's a 2-way pathway. So we're talking 3, an agent for the collection of goods, taking control order, warrant, etc. 2 stooges with them, that's 3, and then 2 of the constabulary Met rank and file officers. So we have a total of 5. You're outnumbered and outgunned physically, and 1 man leaving his property peacefully. No crimes, no victim, nothing wrong happened. It's an encounter as such. A battle is happened unexpectedly. Yeah, please continue then. Thank you.
Yeah, and obviously, as you were saying, I was busy. I got you on the blinker and thought we'd enlighten them to a few things, didn't we? What did you? Can you remember any of the things that you were talking to them about on the loudspeaker?
Yeah, Brother X had asked for the appropriate paperwork and why they was there, what it was in relation to, and he had requested their proof of claim and authority, implied jurisdiction, and
which all they offered was a picture on the phone. Not even, nothing verified, nothing, that looked, I mean, I could have popped that up myself in a Word document or in a Photoshop, to be honest.
No paperwork, so there was no paperwork present, and Brother X had, once he'd worked out that he was being ganged up on by surprise, without an appointment, he tried to defend and ask, who are you and what do you want? And they then introduced themselves. What did the agent for the major gas company call himself?
Well, the agent gave me his, he showed me his plastic card, which just had his name and photo, which I've got evidence thereof. The police officers would not identify themselves except by their badges. I think they mumbled their names, which I couldn't quite get. I asked them to repeat it clearly so we could hear. Introductions. Because I was recording.
Asking for introductions and identity. So was that their collar, numbers, their shoulder, lappets? Yeah, these
And
things.
then that was it. I'm like, hello, I didn't hear you. What did you say? And they wouldn't repeat. They wouldn't give me their details.
So you'd already
Then-
tried to encounter them and stop the wanting to come into the property. Were they wanting to fit some kind of meter or prepayment meter and take control of the
Yeah.
gas supply? Yeah,
I
because
didn't consent to that.
yeah, and you already tried to meet them and civilly, respectfully, honourably, lawfully. Do the introductions, find out the reason that they're there, ask them for the what would we say there? Ask them for the
Proof.
yeah, the warrant or any papers. The issue was that they had a
There were no
device.
papers.
They had a device. Yeah, they had no papers.
There were no papers. You know, there's something on a phone is not a valid paper, is it?
Their implied authority was given on a media device, and then we looked. You at that point called me, I think, and I was already in motion, travelling privately, and I was asked by Brother X if I could help him, and he gave me authority, and put me on speakerphone and said, introduced me. And said, "This is this is the family." What did you say now? Advisor, yeah, trustee.
And that's when David had his experience. Was it then?
Yeah, I was dealing
just
with
quiet.
it was a failing turbo and dodging scaniers at the time. Not you didn't know, and I wasn't swearing or anything. I was doing two things at once here, and the line of the call was it was Brother X didn't know. I was just taking it in my stride, if you like, and I asked for introductions, and they asked who I was. I said I am now given authority, and I'm a trustee and the attorney at law with regards to these legal proceedings going ahead. I'm a witness to the events, and I said, officers present, we need to see your warrant cards and identification as per the civil procedure rules of England and Wales. And I said, there shall be no torts and trespass and theft and harm and injury under common law here today. They didn't want to show any warrant cards, or they didn't have any warrant cards, I think was the case there, was it not?
Yeah, but they also just totally ignored you. They didn't care what you were saying.
For the beginning, yes, they did. They tried to bat it
At the
off.
beginning, yeah, at the beginning, but it didn't take long after that.
But then I asked for the agent for the representation for the major gas company. I says, who is it here today? We would require proofs of your liability insurance. We need to know who you are. We need to see your identification for everybody as per the rules of England and Wales. And I says that if you do not follow these rules, and I am a witness here today, I said if there's officers present, are you under oath today? We asked the question, can we ask, are you under oath today, and in what capacity are you here today, officers? Because if you are here today to aid and abet a private corporation and an agent of, or the agent that's working for himself, or if he's got the client on as the major gas company there, we need introductions, and I need to know if we can now get you as to be witnesses to this. What capacity are you here in today? And they said, we're here to stop any breaches of the peace and to make sure that everything is okay. And I said, well, you're not to assist this private gentleman in his private capacity. You've got to watch and wait, and if you are going to do that, we would like you to remain as constables under oath, and now you are actually acting as a witness to any possible crimes, torts, trespasses. I said, if you don't know what any of them are, I said, you're going to be surprised by the next one, because there may well be a lien or even a commercial lien put on you in your full public and personal private capacity as men here today. So we now require the warrant cards, identities, proof of the judge's signature with reverse liability, full liability, vicarious liability, warrant cards, and also we need to know if the gentleman that's turned up, who he's paid by, the agent there. I said we would require, if he's claiming to be an employee, because this is what they do, of the major gas company, then the liability and the insurances and the redress and the damages that we will be calling upon if you do force through with no consent for this civil matter here today. There's no crimes. I said, do we agree it's a civil matter? They did. They agreed to be witnesses. They stepped back, so they was honourable to some extent when they heard of the certain words. I said, if you're not aware, any of you, of the words and the implications of which I've spoken of today, as the one that's attorney at law, witness, and trustee in these matters for Brother X and his family, then I'm not obliged to explain that to you either. And at which point there was a bit of kerfuffle and hoo-ha, and I said to Brother X, would you please close the door, get your phone, and go and take a photo of the registration plate of the vehicle that the agents have turned up here today? And he wondered why, and I says, because he requires the adequate commercial insurance to be conducting business of that nature. And if his registration plate, which we capture as evidence, it doesn't qualify with the commercial insurances, and he's on a private light goods domestic insurance, and that nullifies everything what he's doing here today, let alone all of the crimes and trespasses and torts and injuries that may follow further. Of which you decided to go and get some evidence, didn't you, there, brother?
Yeah, well, kind of. They sort of stepped away then after you had a few words. I wasn't letting them in because I didn't consent. I managed to get the image, and then they decided to go off and have a quick talk. And then they came back, and that's when you started to explain the rest of the, proper procedures.
The civil
And you
procedure
even,
rules, the rules and
yeah.
policies, United Kingdom, England and Wales and courts. Yeah, sorry to interrupt, jogging your memory.
No, that's fine. You even gave who the two examples of Lord Sumton, I think it was.
It was Lord Tom Bingham and the rule of law. I says, I'm not quoting Freeman, I'm not quoting Magna Carta, and I'm not quoting Constitution, and neither am I using United Kingdom rules and policy. I will draw your attention to the rule of law and the international application of that, of which the governance and covenants comes from your ministers. So you need to know, under the civil procedure rules and the rule of law, we expect the following to be qualified for the damages and counterclaims in an actual court of law in England and Wales, in a high inner London court. Can you prove for me today and this man that you have served him in accordance with the civil procedure rules? And I want to know, in a court of law, when a judge asks you, when we cross-examine and privately prosecute you in your capacities as previously mentioned, can you knowingly now stand there and say to me that you have served the legal person, not this private blood natural man in front of you? Never mind sovereign, we didn't mention the word sovereign, fam. I told you, you don't mention the word sovereign here. And I said, if you can, in your full knowledge today and with a clean conscience, know that when we do this and take the damages and the redress to a court in London of England and Wales, amongst all of the others I've just mentioned separate, can you prove, would you be able to prove that serving has been done and the civil procedure rules and the pre-action protocols have been followed? And of which there was a bit of silence, I think, at first. And they asked where I got this from, and that they have a warrant and that they've got authority to come in. And I said, you'll find, officers, if you go and get in touch with your sergeant and the officials at the station, Lord Tom Bingham and the rule of law is what I'm quoting here. Lords, I did mention more, but I can't remember now in the heat of the moment and a failing turbo. And I pointed out it isn't Freeman, Magna Carta, Constitutional, United Kingdom. This is actual law. And if you haven't followed anything and you haven't got the actual real lawful authority, then this is classed as intimidation, under duress, no consent, trespass, harm and injury. I said, and so if you think you can go in, then you've got the authority to go in, whether this man consents or not. And then did they ask you if they could come in or anything like that? Was there any offer of trying to get in? Did they say that?
The agent just wanted to push his way in. He said, all right, that's enough. He's had enough now.
Yeah.
And to which at that point, when you were saying they cannot, and then the police officers, as he started speaking, then just was laughing and totally ignoring and, disregarding anything that you were saying. at that point.
They were put on notice. They were put in their capacity
Yeah,
as
and that's when you even
witnesses.
said that in lieu. Yeah, and that's when he touched me.
Oh.
And I was like, no, what are you doing? What are you doing? Don't touch me. It was like in my face, like not even about 30 centimeters away. I've got a lovely picture of him trying to push his way in.
Lovely.
And but yeah, at that point, then I just, had enough. I shut the gates. And then, because I was stressing out, I kept getting phone calls from my children. Where are you? Where are you?
And I
others,
pointed
where
out,
are you?
yeah, and I did point out, I said, this man would like to be getting up on his way. You're now distressing, him himself, and you're going to be causing harm to his assets and his blood, his children, and he's also got some member of family somewhere in a medical institution of the NHS of which he's got an appointment to go and see. And so you need to be aware now there are multiple crimes and trespasses and torts across various members of the family and harms that are going to be committed. I said to the agent, I said, I'd like to know if this is a British company. I nearly said it. If this is a British mainstream gas supplying, I can say it like this, company, who pays your wages? I'd like to know. And he replied, what does it matter who pays my wages? I says, it makes all the difference, doesn't it? For liability, I do believe,
Correct.
And I said, if you're paid by directly by the company and you work for them, then that's one thing. And the big company there that supplies the gas, you're very wispy again. That supplies the gas. They will cover you with their liability insurances, and if you are not paid directly by them and you have clients and you're collecting on behalf of, then it's your personal insurance and liabilities and indemnifications that we will be calling upon later down the line for the injuries that you inflict today, which are crimes that these constables are now going to be witnesses. And I need to see warrant cards for this indemnification, because if there is no warrant cards, then they have got no right to be there doing what they're doing. They are just basically from the old boys club ganging up and making it look like it's lawful. It's not lawful and it's not legal. I said, it's not even legal what you're doing, and you are the ones employed to stop crime. So now you're helping aid and abet, and you may not even have the authority, any of you, to be here. And the man from the gas company didn't answer who he was paid by, because he realised what I was angling at, and he may not want to press any further. And so I said to Brother X, I suggest you close the door, and because he was getting in a flap, and he to be fair, I love him to bits, but he was delayed. Children and a family member in a national health institution there, NHS, appointments being delayed. He was stressing out. He wasn't expecting it. He'd been assaulted, and he was worried. So I said, I suggest, with the phone calls that are going off and the lack of interaction and the no paperwork, the no judge's name, no signature, I suggest that you lock the door and you go about your business, because if they're coming in, Brother X, they're coming in, and if they're not coming in, they're not coming. I know this sounds a bit, simple and weird, but you would expect all of this to be above board, as the boat people call it. Yeah. So I said, you can go on your business and know that you don't consent. Then there's an account that's in dispute and the mitigating circumstances, and the law hasn't been followed. So if they're going to go in, they're going to go in because they believe they've got the authority. And if they don't have the authority, they won't be going in. And we left it kind of like that at the end, didn't we?
Well, kind of. But I mean, when I then went around to the other door and opened up, I did request that the police, man or woman, arrest the agent on, false pretense.
Oh yeah, you did.
Or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Because we've got that. Hang on, just give me a second. I'm just going to swap this out.
So while Brother X is doing that, I just want to say it was kind of.
Okay, is that better?
I don't know. We'll continue on, and I'll see. I think the wire and the mic might be scraping across from it, or you've got.
That's the headphones. Yeah, I've just put in a different one. hopefully that's a bit better.
We can hear you. It's all right. I was just being a bit, it's, the DJ in me. It's bad earth, and things like that with the wheels of steel and the amplifiers. But it's all good. We can hear you. It's loud and clear.
Good. Yeah, so I mean, as per your request, I did request that they do that because, the things that were going on were not following procedure and what they were trying to do. So I requested at that point that they place him under arrest because he also threatened me with arrest. I was like, what? Did you hear that, officers? They said, yeah. I said, really? You're here to keep the peace and he's threatening me. And they said, that's not a threat. Really? I don't know. You see what the records say, because I don't know, we've got that on record.
Yeah,
So
no, I heard that. I'm a witness to that as well. It was a bad line, and I did have to get you to repeat, you remember, and I said, can you repeat? You said, did you hear that? And I had to repeat, so we made sure. I could hear it sometimes, but I had to just make them repeat it, so it was without doubt, without any doubt there what was going off and what was being threatened. So, yeah, go on.
Yeah, but like I said, we've got it recorded. As in addition to that, and that's one thing I must stress: always hit the record button. It always helps.
Any neighbours? Was there any neighbours, curtain twitchers, witnesses?
Yes. Yeah, well, they came out because obviously the noise and 5 people at the door seems to attract, especially in this time.
A gang.
Because then we had a party. Then there was a party of 6 strangers. I didn't even know.
A gang, ganging up is what we say there.
Yeah. So at that point, they sort of wandered off and strolled off, and I did request their all identification. None of them would write any of it down. I requested that on several occasions.
I did reinforce that we need photographs and we need to take evidences then, not just of the registration plate, but of all the criminals that are there today, impersonators, and because of the damages. So you're allowed to do that on your own private property when you've got trespassers that are there illegally and unlawfully, that have committed assault and breached their own rules and policies with regards to the health ministers, secretaries, Matt Wancock, the vicious viper, and etc. Sorry, but that's what I think of him, especially after the recent headlines today. But I'm digressing. I've got valid reasons for saying Matt Wancock, the vicious viper. If any of you like him, I'd like to know why. If not, hear me now. Sorry, regret. So you took the evidence. You got the photos or videos of all present.
Yeah, we've got all of that. So, obviously, then they had their little chats, and I was locked the door. Was going out, and I said, "Well, look, give it no consent. Do what you need to do." Because at that time, I'd had enough. You had enough. And I said, well, break and enter if you wish. That's your doing. And then they all wandered off. I kept asking for identification, especially from the police officers or policemen and women, whatever you want to call them these days. I thought they meant to protect the peace, but yeah. Kept asking them for identification. They would not give it. Then they got in their car. I took obviously all pictures of that, taking it through that. He shut the window, shut the door with me, he wouldn't give it. And I kept asking why weren't they doing what they're meant to do? Aren't they, as public officials, aren't they not meant to identify themselves?
Oh yes, unless there's a common law crime. Unless there's a common law crime and a victim, then they can come in and stop the crime instantly. But if there's no crime and no victim, then there's rules, policies, and law to be followed there. Yeah, and if they've got if they've got an order for taking control of goods, then they need to provide that proof as well. Yes.
Yeah, but they also weren't following requests made by the public of placing the guy under arrest. He was threatening me.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well said.
And I kept asking them for, what's your name? I need your name, please. So, if we need to do anything with this or take it further, which I think we should do, is, so we can identify them. But, I mean, we've got the so-called badge numbers, if it was them or not, and, I had no idea of how to identify them, except for with video and camera footage, and, time and date. So, evidence, I suppose. Vehicle registration, all the pictures.
Proof of claim. When we're going to claim, we need all the proofs for the claims that we're going to claim for, and that's how it works there. They're quite ambiguous, and they like to rely upon fear and intimidation, as you're hearing from this man's testimony. Fear, intimidation, barely legal, assaulted, and nowhere near lawful. I'm putting some links in as well regarding things.
And it seemed like,
sorry.
that's what they seemed like. They're like, just right after they realized they couldn't get through, or then break and enter. I mean, they started to sort of, go away very quickly, and just, when they try and make away a hasty.
I do know. It's my favourite.
When the press are, I need a picture. Give me your name and number, and they just drive off.
That's my
I
favourite.
stood in front of their car, but then I decided, okay, let them pass. Maybe they've got more important things to do than arrest people.
Well, it didn't happen instantly, and I had other things on my mind as well, and you had things on your mind.
Did I?
It's my favourite
My
part.
heart, I was
when they
stressed,
leave. Yeah.
Yeah. I could feel my heart pounding out of my chest.
Please explain, clarify, go on. Yeah, don't you're laughing about it now, but you wasn't then, and
well, I mean, I do have some medical issues, and I felt as if my throat was bouncing out, and my heart was going out of my chest, because I wasn't worried about them or them doing what they were doing. I was more concerned, about my loved ones, because I was meant to be there half an hour ago. And, in this day and age, it's, it's not as safe to have little ones running by themselves anywhere, really. But,
Yeah, you had to go and collect. They weren't running out wild feral. They had to be collected from somewhere, is what you're saying.
But the point is, when you're that far away, and they don't have a clue where you are, what's going on, they can't reach you, and you can't reach them because you're busy dealing with.
Well, yeah, because what he did, what Brother X did, he had the major gas corporation of the British variety on the phone. He had me on the phone, and then he had the school and hospital trying to get in touch, and he had 6 men at his door. So imagine that with a medical condition. So he did very, very, very well. I did actually hang up a little bit because I had to get out, and he wasn't aware of what was happening. And then
no, I was not.
And then I got back in touch, and they'd disappeared by that point. So it wasn't easy. It wasn't a nice thing. He isn't a criminal, and he's not got a victim here. So you was talking to the major gas supplier there, and you was talking to them about account dispute, serving notices. What can you remember any of that? What you were saying to the gas company?
Well, yeah. I mean, the account is obviously in dispute. Has been for a very long time. I won't go into details what they actually did.
Yeah. But
the fraudulent behaviour, I should say, because taking things when not authorised, or
And when we have an account in serious dispute and mitigating circumstances, and we put the liability back on the claimants there, that actually in law, legally, England and Wales under policies, it stops any further levies, fines, fees, forfeitures, and anything happening until the dispute and the mitigation has passed, and then we can move to litigation. So they missed the litigation. I missed the mitigation. I went straight to litigation, and you was trying to get them to say on the phone to the officers, constables and the agents.
They even called them up and requested them. It ain't a convenient time, not a good time at all.
You asked them to call off the dogs, if I remember, not the dogs, but
correct.
effectively call off the dogs, and you're liable. Yeah. And what did they
Yeah.
say? Can you remember what they said about their employee or not their employee?
Well, the usual time with this, we cannot reach and not available. There's no one to speak to about that. I mean, you would have thought in this time there should be plenty of them to speak to about that because there's so much of that going on.
Yeah, they're liable.
You know?
They've set somebody, and the account is either being collected for and on behalf by this agent in his private, commercial capacity, public, commercial, private capacity, all of them, on behalf of the major gas company, or he either works for them. So you see, at this point, if the gas company had got an employee there, they would have known about it, they'd have had it on screen, they'd have had the data, and they could have rang him. But if the debt has been passed across to somebody to collect on behalf of, I'm not saying it's been bought, because it doesn't look like it's been bought. I'm not sure. We need to look at the paperwork. But the question would be to the scribes, how would you tell if a debt has been bought by a debt collection agency, or if it's being collected on behalf for a client? That's another thing there. But the gas company wanted to have nothing to do with it. So that told us all we needed to know there, as well as my questioning and Brother X's requirements of proofs of claim, authority, jurisdiction, and the laws that we had to quote, and the lords and everything, and the points that we pointed out. How long do you think this went on for? I'd like to ask my man.
45 minutes at least.
Yeah, it wasn't quick.
I mean, I've got the recording. I need to actually look. I'll look at the timing on it, and I can confirm that. Because I started recording from the start with them, which is what you should always do, just so that you've got everything. Because most of the time they say something, they will not repeat it because it can catch them out. Because a lot of times they will say things they shouldn't be saying.
Threatening, intimidating, coercion, force. Yeah.
But as soon as that little camera comes out, a lot of the time, because then they're on record.
Did you notice any cameras on any of the officers or constables?
Yes. They said they were filming. I asked them if they were. I said, great. So am I. Please film. I don't know if the footage will still be there. I don't know. Maybe the batteries. Hopefully not. Hopefully they were fully charged, and all good. We shall see. So I think we'll have to request that.
Data subject access request, GDPR. So when you're listening, what we're doing here, everybody, I've invited Brother X to come along because he wants to know what to do next, how to proceed, what evidences and processes to use, and he's going to watch back tomorrow, and when the chat's put back on the video, he will see all your comments. So I am giving you love and shouts, each and every one of the scribes in the room here, and Brother X will be coming back to look at your words, so let them flow, and I will assist and oversee and facilitate, and then he can articulate, and then you also can save this video and download it and make your notes and pass it around and share it, because soon man's going from public to private, and I'm finished with this and we're going strictly private. So make the most of it, join together, and let's work as one, and let's share the knowledge.
No offense for what they did. They should not be stressing anyone out like that or threatening. Under no circumstance, because you haven't committed a crime, as you say. So the stress. Luckily, my world's changed, so I don't stress as much anymore. But that was very stressful, and not because of them, because the worry of the loved ones. They didn't know what was going on. I wasn't there, and that's a very stressful thing for anyone, for any parent or father, I should say, or mother. Wouldn't you say, brother?
No, I'm just saying hello to our little senorita, the Anders Argentina, and upgrading Robert Ace. If Robert can pass a message back in, I'll make you blue, Robert. I had a chat with him the other day. Sorry, I'm I'm multitasking and repeat that. Sorry, my man.
That's more of that's a female thing, man.
Oh no, yeah, no, it's a little in-house joke we had in a private chat.
You thought you'd use both sides of the brain there.
I try to. I can. I'm tired. I've had a stressful couple of days.
You're going to take your hat off to them. That's amazing what they can do, especially with the kids.
Yeah, it's not fair. It's not honourable. It's not. It's just. It becomes too much of a common occurrence. This the boys coming down, the thin blue line. We're actually on a very thin line, to be fair. And the goons from the gas company coming in force, 6 bodies outside on your doorstep. Imagine if you was somebody, not you, but imagine if this scenario, as you're listening to it, and maybe your first time involved in this, or you might, quite a lot of the heads in the room here, the scribes are well versed in what we do. There's some usual suspects in the chat room, I might say. So you lot on the replay and listening now, what would you do if you didn't have this knowledge? You didn't have somebody to call. You was incapacitated, less able, vulnerable, on further medication. And this brother here, X, is on medication, wasn't expecting it. Can you imagine? Single mums, less able, vulnerable and weak. This is why they do what they do. Yeah,
they freak out. I mean, for me, I can sort of handle this kind of thing now. I've been through what I've been through, but I've seen less people freak out on, I mean, as an example, just a quick detour, at a NHS hospital A&E, there's a single mom with her poor little, I think he was about 7 or 8 years old, if even that, had fallen over from school face first and was called to get him to a hospital ASAP because he kept, passing out, waking up and passing out. And when we got there, apparently she'd been there for 4 hours already, not being seen, poor kid, no medication, and he keeps passing in and out. I thought that was absolutely disgusting. There's loads of other people that had been seen. You can see the kid's in pain, doesn't know what's going on. He looked totally concussed. And sitting waiting around for 4 hours? I mean, come on. That's not what should be happening.
No.
And that happens every single day.
Yes. It
Sorry.
It's hard. No, you carry on. Yeah, it's a common occurrence, and thank you for sharing that. It's that is a true crime right there. Yeah. I
mean, I was disgusted. I was absolutely disgusted. And what I said, she should call the director. And as soon as she mentioned him, then they were going to see them, because that to me was a crime. You cannot do that. The sick and the dying and the children and the elderly and women come first, and then anyone else after that, if it's not too serious, after them. But especially with kids and a head injury, anyone with a head injury should be attended to first, because anything could happen.
I'm looking through questions, and that's right. It's they could further, Amnesty International, human rights, England and Wales law, international covenants, articles of we're governed by consent. I think it. Don't quote me. 1966. Articles of Covenants of Rights there. Look at number 7. If you're on the .com, you'll have seen all of the posts that I've been flooding out with all of this supreme. Forgive me when I say supreme. We all know where the supreme law really is.
Oh, wait. What's happened with all of that, even recently with everything? Because there is no consent with regards to things going on at the moment.
Well, there is if you know what to use and what to say, as we're trying to, push out and get people to stop stop using Magna Carta, to stop using Constitution, and to stop using Freeman Buller Scheisen, because it does nothing but get damages, injury, torts and trespass. It aggravates, it vexates, it wastes time, it gets you emotional, and it'll end you up losing a house like Tom of the Crawford fam and the 800 outside. We need real conjecture, substance and form, articulation. How calm was I for once, you know? And
Correct.
can you comment on me?
And Brother Dave said it there perfectly. You got to keep emotion out of it.
You have. It's really. I was using please and thank you. I was being polite and courteous. I was speaking slowly, and I had a failing turbo and a Scania skim the front end. Rastafari.
You like it wasn't the rear end there?
Well, yeah, the Swedish one up the rear end. No comments there. Venus and Uranus comes to mind, astrotheological referencing, but calmness, that comes because I've practiced this, and in the beginning I wasn't calm and I wasn't so confident, and it really is for somebody that's never dealt with anything like this, that may be in a COVID type backlog of money, debt, state dependency. You might be middle class or classify yourself as higher middle class, and you may have found yourself on your ass and without money. The banks are, drying up. The credits are taking long to come in, and the government's failing to provide the DWP and the agencies of. And so you're a good, honourable man, woman, womb man. You've had all your life in credit, but now you've depleted everything through no fault of your own, and this is coming to a doorstep near you, and you will maybe sympathise with what we've had to do and instigate, and the rules and the regulations and the policies and the pre-action protocols and the procedures that we've learned to use. It didn't happen overnight, and they won't be able to keep calm because they've never experience this. So if they have 6 people, amass at their door, I dare say that it will be quite an intimidating and scary thing. And because they've never had it, they'll just willingly believe everything and let them come in and fit a prepayment meter because of a clerical administrative.
Smart meter.
Oh, what?
Whatever
sorry?
meter.
You just
doesn't
swear.
matter.
Did you just swear then? What was that? Say that again.
Smart meter. The what meter? The radiation meter? Is that what it is?
I reckon so. Yeah, there's proofs there. So, yeah, well said, my man. But,
well, we got lots of proofs on that, don't we? That's all coming up. That's the next thing we got to go on to, isn't it?
I have put some links into the room. What I'd like to draw your attention to is I've done a DuckDuck search on the Taking Control of Goods Regulation 2013. And I did put past debt back to creditor because I believe somewhere in the early days I picked up somewhere that if you haven't signed and contracted and you've got no deed of, deeds and agreements to, and in the contract there deal with a third party corporate entity, we'll say, then you can ask for it to be passed back. You will need to do some searching, and don't quote me on this. There's no legal advice. It's entertainment purposes only. But you've got another link then for Part 84 of the Civil Procedure Rules, you see. Enforcement of by taking control of goods for you. Goods are for market. Man has private possessions and property even, I would like to say. You possess property and belongings, all right? We are human beings, beings of man, authentic human, authentic man, many different words. Choose what you want, and goods, they're what go to market, everybody. This is not public, this is not commercial.
But saying that with regards to contract,
yeah.
If you contracting with
sorry, yes, you got
someone,
me to say that. Sorry. Yeah.
That's you're only contracting with them, not with a third party.
Where is
that
it? Where?
Third parties, there is no the third party's got nothing to do with it because you're not contracting with them. It's like me shaking your hand with you. I'm not shaking your hand with your ghost or some other guy who wants to come join the party. I'm shaking hands with you. That's the contract.
Yeah.
Made with you.
And then Big Kev
not
comes round.
else.
We send Big Kev round to come and see, like, who are you? Oh, well,
have you got someone? Is someone else shaking their hands behind their back with someone else? It's like, really? Didn't know that's the way it works.
And then also we've got legislation.gov UK after the Civil Procedure Rules, which is Taking Control of Goods Regulations 2013 that I've put in the link there. You can also search for this yourself. And I'm going to get you the last link now as well as we look to protect you and give you the information. So don't believe us, don't believe the hype, go and check this out. I know many of you do trust and you've come to learn our effectiveness, but much like the agency that looks like it's part of the government called the Department for Work and Pensions, it's a private corporation. The police, they're a private corporation. We've got the DUNS numbers, we've got all the applicable numbers there. So
hang on. But how can a corporation can't be part of the government, can it?
Exactly, but they masquerade as if they are, but they're private corporations.
That's what's called a government, not a corporation.
Yes, I'm not arguing with you. I'm just letting man know that.
I didn't know they mean the same thing, or do they? I haven't looked in the dictionary. What? I'm sure. Can people enlighten us on that one? What do those two words mean?
Yeah.
What do they say in the dictionary? What is the meaning of those two words?
Yeah, the definition and implied meaning. I'm going to give you another link now with a duck search for the Taking Control of Goods Act and Order, and we'll see there that you'll get it put in the feed there as well. So any comments or any questions you've got, scribes, now's the time to get them in so Brother X can see them tomorrow and we can answer any questions. And if you've got anything that you know of to help us out, then please contribute now. Now is the time. It's your time to shine, please.
Yeah. Well, I think on the next one, I think we should enlighten, with what good old John Harris tried to show the world with regards to corporations. Do you remember that, brother?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
He was, yeah. I mean, I suppose you could never forget it, could you? No one could, if they knew of him and his works.
Most of our demographic got onto this track, line, road, pathway, and we're about the demographic of this channel and the scribes era between 30 and 50. So yeah, they'll be the same as us there with the entrance into freedom, rights, property, assets, titles. It was he was one of the most passionate and
but the one that I loved, is the bit that he highlighted was a company called, was it Centrica?
Go on. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's true. There is a company called Centrica. Yeah.
Yeah, and as far as I knew, was it them? Who did the post? Was it the postal service? Was it part of that?
I don't
Because
know.
looking at it, I mean, if a trading's non-trading company, you can't have other companies beneath it trading with millions and billions because it's dormant.
Oh. We know
If a company's dormant, how can it be like, so now there's another 13, 20 companies underneath it, and that one's in charge and it's dormant? Does that mean none of the others are making any money, profit, trading? Where's all that money going? Because that's the main holding company. I don't know, it's been a long time since I looked at that, but that's... I don't know.
Yeah, it's all...
It's just very... Yeah. Dormant company running another 20 or so companies, or maybe less, I don't know, underneath it. It's dormant. It's non-trading.
Yeah, dissolved and dormant is normally what we find there. So yeah, I'm just going to look at the room now and say thank you to Chippy Paul. He's going to put some comments in. So if you're on the replay and you can't obviously enter into the chat because we've finished, then your comments would go underneath the video, please. And anything you may have for Brother X here, then I'm so nearly saying your name every time. Then
X-ray.
he will pick up on...
X-Men, man. The X-Men are coming.
He will pick up on those comments when he looks back at the video, and he's going to work with us. And I'm getting tired of repeating these things, and we're getting tired of hearing these stories. And it seems to be getting faster, harder, and stronger. The attack. Whilst we're waiting for Q and Nasara Jasara, the rivers of blood are going faster and faster. We've got Pretty Patel. There was the equivalent of a female Enoch, who's in favour of corporal punishment and would grass upon her neighbours, knowing that her ethnicity and bloodline is not strictly Anglo-Saxon, English, Britain, whatever way you want to put it. We've got love for all, but I just find it a bit of a strange one, that one, how somebody of that constitution could adopt those, and I'll leave it there. Rolling up the room for you, Lyndon, and you can carry on chatting. I'm going to see if there's any questions, comments, or out useful for you, because what we need to do now is work out how we remedy and resolve this, effect tender payment, effect payment, and discharge the charges. I'd like to just say before I go to the room, Lord Denning, promissory notes are to be treated as cash, bills of exchange. We're not talking A for V, because the A for V is, in my opinion, discovery and belief, underpinned by UCC. UCC was instigated 100 years ago by US Bar. The barratry, the bar personage of America, solicitors and barristers, of America 100 years ago, created the UCC. UCC section 1 and 3, not that I use this or even need it, but in my discovery, I'm not an expert on it. If you are, well done. But I just know that certain sections there allow for accepted for value, and the way that works is not really in the private and, in our opinion, transfer, endorsement, etc. Discharge the charges. So if the company could be asked, do you accept cash? For me to service this debt and effect payment, I'm willing to use cash. And if they say yes, then I'd be like, well, promissory notes are to be treated as cash, the bills of exchange, and etc. So we'll give them some cash in the form of a promissory note, or we'll have a gyro slip and we can transfer via endorsement. I'll leave it there for now, and I'm going to look in the room.
But also, what are they? You got a question? Who produces the cash? I mean, not the cash, the gas.
Yeah.
And how do they charge? I mean, does nature give them a bill and then they charge us? Or they take...
They say, like for the water, it's just a service charge. You're not paying for water, you're paying for the delivery service, maintenance, and etc. The water is actually given to you, but the company wants the gas.
Is it given to them?
The gas one. So another point you just made me think of: agents at the companies, water, gas, utility, domestic supplying. There, all right. We've got agents in the house. If we've got agents in the house, then whom are we? Looking at the setup there, your gas and water meters are like the chassis number on the car. What do you mean? Well, let me finish. On the horsey, on the wagon, and on the boxes of the meters, they have a unique identifying reference number. There may be millions of those Siemens boxes and blue Terrans kicking around, but there's only one of that chassis number. There's only one of that identifying number on that box. This is an agency, so we've got like a trust relationship with a unique specific item there as well. You should already know this from videos that we've put out before, but we'll re-echo it. So that's another point there. If there's an agent on the phone and they are called the creditor, how can a company be a creditor if they're an agency? Now it's getting a bit weird here now then, isn't it? Like, because we are the creditor, because we would credit the cash, effect transfer the credits and promises and cash to the company when they bring out a statement. There is no bill given either, so you can't say. He did say, didn't he, have you paid your bill? And I had to point out all of this, did I not, brother? What bill?
Exactly.
When he stood there telling him, you haven't paid your bill, this is why this is going down, you naughty man, you criminal. And I'm like, whoa, okay then.
What bill? Exactly.
Hilarious it was in some ways.
Bill of charges for what? That's the thing. If they're selling a product, where's the bill?
Barnster agreed, Anders agreed, Quinn agreed. I'm looking at the bottom of the room there, UCC, the hardest part of conversing with these nasties and using our armour and verbiage when adrenaline is pumping, must keep calm. Yes, Barnster. Indeedy, Anders. has said it's easy to give away stuff that you don't own. Yes, how can you possess something that you don't have, or repossess something which you've never possessed as well? Yeah,
Exactly.
indeed. Chippy Paul has put down about, sorry, I've just lost it, suburban London, closures, bike lanes, pollution has risen. We feel for you there, my man.
Shame.
Can you see the
Going
chat?
off the WHO figures, how many were died in 2017 from pollution? I think it was, what, 7.2 million?
A lot. Too many.
Amazing lockdown we had for that.
Lisa
Who's official figures?
Lisa read the dictionary once, thought it was a poem about everything. Can you see the room, Brother X?
I can feel it.
No, that's all right then. That's good. You can feel the vibes. All right. Quinn, can you imagine how much fear these actions cause the average household who are clueless to how they might deal with the pressure? Exactly. Good point,
Exactly.
Quinn. Yeah. You want to say out there, Lyndon?
Yeah. Well, that's it exactly. I mean,
You go on.
you know, imagine just the average family Joe trying to deal with this. It's like, you know, and doesn't have a clue. Just let him in and do whatever.
Elderly.
And meanwhile, they're breaking the law. They're following the law. How would you know? It seems like the officers didn't know what they were talking about because you were quoting the law,
Yeah.
and they were just laughing at that, which meant they didn't understand or know it.
And
Which
that's
one is it?
vexation, yeah, and I'm not obliged to point out, and it's not my duty. They're the ones wearing the uniform. They're the ones purporting to upholding the
They
road.
should know it, of all people. Correct.
And
If they're trying to enforce the law, they should know the law.
the long arm of the law.
How can you enforce something you don't know? Which means what?
It's,
Is any law a law? Which laws were actually passed recently? I have no idea. Did you see any of the bills, by the way?
go on.
All these COVID things? Because they keep saying laws, then they're saying rules. Laws or rules? Which one is it?
Yeah, I did say that there are rules and there are law. We are
Yeah.
abiding by law, and you are abiding by policy, and you
A
can't.
rule is not a law, exactly.
You can't use a rule to break the law of the land. You're going to enter into common law breaches by your corporation and policy, and your policies, your rules and your policies are not
But
law. And
what's that big old famous saying? Rules are meant to be broken?
there is no consent, and there is no victim. Ultimately, it's an administrative civil matter. Now it's getting out of control, and we're looking into damages. So, yeah, it was an interesting conversation, and for them to laugh and vexate like that's what they want, because then when you get angry, they can then detain you for a breach of the peace, and then once you're away, they've got a free run to fit the prepayment meter. And sometimes
Stake off.
I think that it's a setup for for that situation, and I think sometimes I don't know, but I think sometimes some of these goons in officers, come out, and they're the younger, jumped up ones that have got something to prove, that need to go back to the office and say, we've done this and we've done that. They're like on commission based, if you like, salesmen, and they like it. They're not placid, bearded, old, wiser, honourable constables.
Well, hang on. The agents seem to be older and, with age, supposed to get wiser, but yeah. He was no spring chicken, put it that way.
Yeah, all right, yeah. So, yeah, let's go through the ages. Was the officers, constables, young or old, or was they...
Yeah, they were youngins, springins. In fact, everyone was, except for the so-called agent. I think you could tally up 3 of them to get his age. I don't know. Couldn't guess the ages, but yeah, there was at least 2 of them worth in them of age. Is the sound all right there?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, we haven't got rid of that whispering, but it's it's all right. We can hear you. Yeah, it's good.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I mean, he was no spring chicken, to be honest. But I was just thinking, I'm who I am, but I'd feel sorry for, imagine a poor mom with her children. And these guys are, banging on the door. We coming in. We coming in. Doesn't matter what you say. Really? But that's when you got to just, don't let them in. Ask to show what they need to show. Get your proof. If there's no proof, they could be anyone dressed up. These days, you can dress up. Well, you can get the clothing. Anyone could be dressed up. You got to make sure who you're dealing with.
Good point.
They got to identify because they could be anyone. Happens every single day.
Just because I've said before, just because you're wearing that uniform doesn't make you a king for the day. You still got to oblige and follow and be courteous. And if you don't, then we need to know whom you are. If you don't have the introductions and the evidences of identity and the correct paperwork with you, then woe betide you. Later on down the line. So.
But pay respects for both sides. I mean, if they don't treat you nice, just treat them like you would one of your friends. Be courteous, be nice, and because there's no need for you to be. If they want to get like that, don't worry about it. Let them get like that because you got to record it so you can show what they were actually doing. If they were being threatening or intimidating or so forth, you've got their proof. So, let them go on, let them do whatever. But, they will be held accountable for whatever they do. Because that's what the rules is there for, isn't it?
And that's business talk. They're held to account. The account is in dispute, accountable for your actions and reactions, the laws of cause and effect, going into hermeticism all the way up to legal
causality.
There you go, yeah. Proof of claim, you got all the proofs, you've got your witnesses, you didn't rise to the invitation of the laughs and the sneers and the jiggering, you closed the door behind you and you went on about your private duties, obligations and business in your private capacity, and you said, fill your boots, I'm off later. And that's how it has to be sometimes. And
break and enter if you want to go for it,
Or you can consent and let them in. You don't listen to us. It's not you.
Let them break the law.
Yeah, it's
better that way.
If they have the
if they've got everything in order, absolutely fine. But they didn't show it to you. They didn't show it to me. So they if they then do it then afterwards, and then try to claim that we did have everything. Well, you didn't show it. You didn't prove it. Anyone could do that. Oh yeah, I had a letter. Oh, I got 24 hours later.
Yeah, so we need to look at now we've explored all of this and given you a detailed, concise relay of what happened in that 45 minutes there. We now need to know what to do. I've put some bits in and some links and some information for you all. So with regards to bills and charges and cash and money and debts and accounts in serious dispute and liabilities, if you ignore
and
this,
accountability and liability and responsibility.
Oh yes, we now need to close this. Ignorance is no excuse. Ignorance of the law for them, I'm on about, and ignorance of this account. And
no, they claimed they knew what they're talking about. They weren't claiming ignorance.
No, but we can prove they had ignorance of the law, and that's why we did what we did there. So now we need to approach the major gas supplier, and we need to settle and satisfy and get this dispute situation and mitigate fully, and then obviously let them know that by them authorising and ignoring your private communications to them, which they have got a duty and an obligation as agents and not creditors, because the true creditor is on the other side here with us. So we can prove most of that to the extreme, rock a mite like a vandal. So it's time to now put the pressure back on. And we have said to others in chat, me, Kevin and I, that there are ways to help you pay. I'm not saying that Brother X needs to go down this route, but there are ways to explore the difficulty. You know, they've got to ask you, they've got duties and obligations. Do you need help paying your bill statement, rather? And before they set the big barriers on you and start scaring the bejesus out of you randomly, you know, unannounced. You've got obligations and duties, and then after that, you could look for possible help. There's a lot. Rishi Sunak said today, we can't keep bailing this situation out. There's going to come a point where it all comes crashing down. So it looks like in the future, next this winter of discontent, to quote the observation decks recent video there, I like that one, that it's going to get worse, and a lot more of this is going to be happening. So this video and other videos like it with regards to the information and the details that we've given, the ones that can't defend and don't have this knowledge, which is, let's face it, probably 90% of our family out there in the public realm, are gonna, they know it's a numbers game and they can just move on. That collector is on a commission based payment system, so he won't waste too much time, and he moves on to somebody easier and you know, easier to intimidate. So we need to look at the account and the dispute, the mitigation, and get it sorted out, which is the next part. I would argue it needs to be done in the private, it needs to be done via paperwork, and it needs to be done with the correction of the trust, the trust that's set up there, and the constructive setups that you've implied, or whatever you want to look at it as, and we move on that way. So dealing with the company and articles and memorandums of association, DSARs, deeds, assignments, authority, mitigating, and in transfer, discharge, cash, money, promises, help. There's lots of in this video for you to look at, and if anybody has and can stand up, I can't. I've never discharged bills and things like this, because by the time I'd learnt about it, I was in a different position, of which I'm not a bill payer. I'm not the one responsible for paying bills, and the one that's responsible for paying bills doesn't want to play this game. So I haven't got the right or the authority. You know, I'm actually a traveller that's homeless down on the ethnicity of it all. I've brought to you about travellers and the fact that you know, where do you live? What is your name? Who are you? I've got the right to choose, you know, if I'm a name or not. I've got the right to choose my ethnicity. I've got the right, and I enforce that. So as a traveller with no real home and etc., child of the creator, man of the realm, I am of this realm, but I play no part of it. And others, you know, I'm in a fortunate situation, and I'm kind of a ghost in some ways, and I use my time to then research and develop and work with others such as you. So I can't stand here today and tell you I have discharged in other areas, but not anything like this. So Brother X, you need to find, we need to find others that have, or you know, the olden days, there was the gyro credit slip there, a certain type of credit slip, and there was ways of effecting payment and servicing the debt. So when that goes into that goes, if that goes into dishonour, then you can at least then at the judicial stage, what we find is it goes to a judiciary, but you can't go into a magistrate in a public venue. As I said to what was his name now on the channel there, there's a gentleman that I chatted to, bills of exchange, I can't think of his name now, and he was on about in a magistrate. There was a scenario when he mentioned transfer, private, bills of exchange, but that's private remedy in a public venue. So the clerk said to the magistrate, oh yes, that's not for this venue, that's for, you know, the private, that's a private remedy, of which, because the judge asked something, the robe asked, have you paid the bill? And he's like, well, was there a bill? And what do you mean by payment? There was a transfer via endorsement for the discharge of the charges. Listen to the words, listen to the language. And you can't argue that in the public, in a magistrate's. You need to effect, I refer you to my paperwork, or we're in the wrong venue. You've got two options: discharge all of this, or move it up to the correct venue, which is in a private court higher up, which then this can be done in the private, or your paperwork, either or. But I have got some ideas for you, my man, don't worry. But I want to see the scribes and their input as well. Yes, What was his name? I'm going to go on the channel and search my history now and give you his name, because he did come out with some concise information, articulation alongside myself. So we'll look at wrapping up in 15 minutes, because I've had a long day and I'm waning, my man. So all right, we've had some fun and we've given them the information that they need to hear. This is quite shocking, and it's not. We don't take any joy in this. It wasn't pleasant for Brother X, and it wasn't pleasant for I. And
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to battle, or they come into battle. They should be stressing out. So
I got him. I'm going to put the link in. I can only say Paul, but when you see the video, you'll all know his name. Paul of the Webster clan. That's him. There we go. Yeah, right. He doesn't like me. I know he doesn't. I had that video chat just to humour and show face, a bit like Raconteurs and the others. There's a bit of controversy in this game, and there's a few ones that like to make claim and throw stones and whatnot. But you know, each to their own.
but that's what they all, and what it comes across with unfortunately with what everyone just doesn't get, you know, with what's going on with everything. They don't care what colour, creed, nationality, or what you are.
No, I was on about in the information movement, my man. There's a few that it's quite very, as you've all seen, Nottingham Free Thinkers, getoutofdebtfree.org, Justin Walker, Tom Crawford. You're not going to go through all the names. You're all aware of what's going on and the controversy that surrounds it. But there's a video for you, Lyndon. X and there's replay. Sorry, I might have slipped my tongue there. I told you it's late and we need to go. Yeah, I'm tired, brother. And this is the link coming in now. There you go. Oh, well, there's some information on there as well. Chin chin to Mickey Finn. Hey. You've got some good information. I'll read that out for you now once this link's gone in. Savings Certificate Regulation 1972, National Debt, Persons with Mental Disorder, Special Private Class of People. What? Okay.
What?
The Savings Certificate Regulation 1972, National Debt, Persons with Mental Disorder, Special Private Classes of Peoples. So I'm reading it out because it takes a while for the chat to come on the video once we've cast it. So if it's not there we go. Thank you, Lindsay. Yeah, we got that. Yeah, bless. Thank you, my love. Jerry says part of the original plan was to give them policy that could be abused and crossed over with the plan to turn the people against off-ISIS, then create new policy force. Agreed there. Thank you, G. Remember what we were talking about, vowel and two consonant, Dave, AC, and then count, no, and then count, hold them to YR, count. Oh, Quinn, magic, thank you. Anders says, lawyers are liars. Freeman of the land, hello, one and all, much love. Chippy's been trying to think what that whispering sound was, and as I hear same sound coming from the gents Kazi at his local boozer.
We're picking up the Wi-Fi.
Most, if not all, constables now abuse the power of constable. Yes, that's becoming. Yeah, we're seeing like a lot of horrid, unlawful actions there. So I'm inclined to agree, Celine. We're not here, to slate everything, but what we're seeing is what you can prove there is through the videos and the references, the testimonies, and the home invasions. We've gone from whorehouses, not you, but the landmass has gone from the hundreds of years whorehouses to poorhouses, and these poorhouses are getting the doors and foot passageways, doorways darkened by gangs of 6 or more that are wanting to intimidate, vexate, and bust in. So I'm seeing a lot more while we're waiting for Q and Nasara Jasara, blood and property stolen and running. So yeah, I'm inclined to agree on that, Celine.
Well, that's happening a lot with everything, especially under this COVID thing.
I'm going to get a link to put in for the Savings Certificate Regulation 1972. I'm just going to get the link and put that in for you later as well. All right, my man. So thank you to
Brilliant.
Mickey Finn. Yeah.
Thank you to everyone.
Yeah, thank you for all of your time, your testimony, Brother X, and what's gone on there is truly despicable. If my granddad was alive, they wouldn't believe it. They wouldn't Adam and Eve what's going on.
Yeah, the freedoms there, what they fought for.
I know, see, it's an insult. It's an insult to past. It's fluff. And yeah, my grandma, you won't mess with her. She was the original Iron Lady, and my granddad, I believe, was in the forces. My Pat, what is it? Granddad, Pat, great Pap, Pap they were called him, but my great granddad, yeah, he was also full of shrapnel. So not just mine, all of the lineages and bloodlines. It's an insult. So there is the link as I'm speaking for the act there that I've just mentioned, 1972 Savings Certificates Legislation Regulations 1972. So that's in there. Thank you all. Statutory instrument extraordinaire. Together, you know, united we will live and win, and divided we will die. Yes, we will have a chat.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah,
true. Dividing us all up, because how do you beat anything? You divide and conquer.
Celine, yes, I'm moving into the private, and we're using international laws. I've come off of the WhatsApp. I don't use Facebook Messenger. I've got my emails going, and the Telegram is busy, is what I can say. I think there's 84 in there, so I will go down and have a look or have a check. We've been defending and helping a man and his children. Assets, you know, I'm speaking at ease, but the private corporation known as the Social Services, we've been in court-based scenarios on the telephone, Kevin, I and the father there, and we've been very busy, and I am adamant now to get the ass of mine into the private before the 21st of the 12th 2020, in light of what we're hearing, what we're bringing to you, what's going on. I've focused, and this week we will be saying hello to the international community, United Nations, when I say that, Geneva Convention, etc. We will be getting recognised, and we will be then, once we've got the adequate protection. I know most of you might not agree with this. I can't see another pathway out, and I've been down many, and this seems like the man can still say private. We can create non-governmental and legals and whatever, and use them and implement them. And then I'm going to say hello to the principal of the Crown, you know, down in London. Once I've got the protection, then I'm going to the arbitratory court of the Supreme Courts of Justice in London, and I'm going to go for an arbitratory session. And if that fails, you know, it shouldn't do, but one protection, the Republic of New Britain has been you know, formulated, and there's some blood authentic beings in that, and I've kind of neglected all of the hundreds of messages and you know, duties there, extra supplementary, failing turbos, COVID times, stress. I'm tired, I'm weak, my eyesight's going. I've been doing this now good 4 years. This channel's been up 3 years. The .com's going into the 4th year. I'm ready for retiring, to be fair. I'm out, I'm done, I'm cooked, my goose, all of that. This is why you know, we're here.
Don't talk about cooking, brother, because that's what's happening to everyone, and they just don't realise what's going on.
But yeah, I help as much as I can. We're doing as much as we can. We got Sweden come online. The .com's growing. We will speak in the private, though. I will get Celine and the good man there. Is it mandatory? That's just coming to my head. Sorry. And yeah, thank you for your comment about my terrible smoking rap there. And we'll chat soon. I promise you. Then no problem. And thank you. Well done to us all. Well done to you. Yeah.
Thank you to everyone here. Thanks for listening.
Well played, is what Quinn says. Mickey Finn, read it. We will do. Thank you. We didn't know about that. I didn't know about it. So thank you, Mickey Finn.
Interesting reading.
Is there anything you'd like to reiterate or say, my brother? Or
Nah, I've said my say for this, but we'll have to have a one on all the other ones and enlighten people as to what's happening with all the oxygen, isn't it?
We'll have a tech chat very soon, yeah, and get into that. We'll have an update on, where we're at.
All
So.
the weird and strange headaches everyone's starting to get, all the shakes.
Lucid dreams, sleepless nights. Wow, yes, there's a lot going on.
There's lots of that going on.
Tiredness, fatigue.
Yeah. Funny that the report stipulates all of that and more. What the effects are. Peer reviewed, huh?
Right, so yeah, we'll say good night. God bless. Thank you. Chin chin. What. Much love. And thank you to Brother X, and thank you to all the scribes, and we will be back soon, and we'll find us in the usual places. I continue to update the community channel. I do miss you. I do miss these chats, but I'm focusing. I'm like the horsey with the blinkers on the side now. I'm looking forwards, and I've only got the private and the safety of us all, basically, to get to. And it's big time. It's big business. It's something that I never thought I'd find myself into, and it happened by accident. So we continue to balance the scales as best as we can. And if you can help us to help you in any way, then please do so. You know where to find us in the private, splspro.com. It's on Facebook, and it's on the interwebble, so you can find us public and private. Kevin is mostly managing the public one there, and he's also with me on the private with you on splspro.com. So thank you all, much love, and we'll say ciao for now, yeah?
Ciao, Bella.
Ciao bello, ciao bella. Grazie mille.
Thought you didn't speak it.
No, I don't. I'm just bits of words.
Just picked up here and there.
All right, bless up. Hasta mañana. Shh.
Hasta la vista, baby.